Hey besties, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video, which you guys already know is just going to be me talking about all the books I have read so far in the year of 2025. It is currently June, so we are about halfway through the year, which is absolutely insane. And I will say I have had such a slow year of reading so far. I have actually only read a total of 13 books so far this year, which is a lot less than normal considering this time last year I had read 22. So we are quite behind where I was last year, but I have just been having, honestly, a rough yeah. Anyways, it's been a rough year of reading and honestly just a rough year in general. We've had a lot going on, but that's besides the point. We're gonna get into all these books that I've read, how I have felt about them, do I recommend them, all the things. I asked you guys on the community tab on my YouTube channel if you guys missed me doing these sit down videos of like TBR videos, wrap up videos, book recommendation videos, because I stopped doing like TBR and wrap up videos at the beginning of the year, but I was like, do you guys miss them? And an overwhelming amount of you actually said you do miss them. So I think I'm gonna bring them back so you can expect to see monthly TBRs and wrap-ups on my channel again going forward, because if you guys miss them, why would I not make them for you guys to watch? So yeah, I thought I would give you guys a quick breakdown on how many books I actually read each month. So January so far has been my best month this year, which is really sad. Also, if you see me look back, I'm looking at my computer to tell you how many books I read each month. So January was my best month with 5 books. Then February I read 3, March I read 2, April I read 2, and May I only finished 1. And it wasn't even a long book, so that's besides the point. Anyways, and out of those 13 books, 6 of them have been romance, 4 of them fantasy, then we have 1 mystery thriller, and then we have 2 nonfiction, 1 of them being a memoir and 1 just a nonfiction self-help type book. So that is the breakdown so far of this year. Now let's just hop right into the actual books and my thoughts and feelings and ratings and all the things. I started off this year with a banger because I started this year off with a reread of Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri and Maniscalco. Now, if you are new to my channel, then you don't understand the lore between me and this book, but I first read this in October of last year. So I read this October, read the whole trilogy somewhere in October, beginning of November, and already reread this book just 2 to 3 months later. That is how you know I loved this book so much, and just the trilogy in general. This trilogy became my all-time favorite fantasy series that I have ever read very, very, very quickly. And starting off the year rereading this was honestly the best possible thing that I could have done for myself without me even realizing it at the time of picking it up. One of, if not the biggest plot point of this book and the event that sends this entire trilogy into action is the fact that Amelia's twin sister ends up getting murdered. So this book deals with a lot of grief. We talk very extensively into grief and how Amelia is dealing with the grief of losing her twin sister, and we just talk about it so much. And not only do we talk about it so much, but we also talk about it in such beautiful ways. And me reading this in January, only a month after I suffered my miscarriage, this book just helped me to not feel so alone in that time, because not only do I already obviously love this universe and these characters from this already being a 5-star trilogy prior, but going into a reread and really taking in how much it talks about grief when I feel like I didn't remember that. And now that's one big thing about this book that sticks with me, is the talk of grief and how she deals with grief, because it truly made me feel less alone. It made me love Amelia even more because I just felt like I connected with her on a deeper level. And just going through a time of such heartbreak and dealing with such heavy grief, to then read a book where someone is also going through such heartbreak and such heavy grief, it just feels like yours is just a little bit lighter, maybe feels like, I don't know, like you're just not alone, because even though this is obviously fictional, like these are real things things that real people do have to go through, and obviously real things that people feel, because I felt them. Maybe not about a twin sister, but grief is grief and grief sucks. So yeah, I feel like I reread this at the perfect point in my life. I honestly cannot wait to reread the rest of the trilogy. I honestly cannot recommend this trilogy enough. I feel like this is one of those things that I'm gonna be known for my love for this universe and for this trilogy. That is my thoughts on this. I feel like I just word vomited so much talking about that book, because genuinely I feel like talking about that book and that series is just, I don't even know how to do it properly. Anyways, moving on, because wow, I don't even know what I'm saying. The next book I read was actually an audiobook that I listened to on Audible, and that is The Third Gilmore Girl by Kelly Bishop. I absolutely cannot even explain to you guys how much I loved listening to this. I am already someone that loves listening to memoirs, especially because most of the time they are narrated by the person who wrote the book and by the person of whose life we are listening and reading about. And this was one that when she announced she was coming out with this memoir, I knew I was gonna read it. I was so excited to read it, because Gilmore Girls is my absolute all-time favorite show ever. There has never been, and there will never be another show that will ever overthrow, I guess, my love for Gilmore Girls. I watched it at such a young age, and it has stuck with me, and I watch it almost every single day. Like, it is just something that is just comforting to me, and I love it. And listening to her talk about her life before Gilmore Girls and all these things that she has done in her life that I didn't even know she did, because I really only know who she is from Gilmore Girls. So listening to her talk about all these things she's done, being on Broadway, being a dancer, a singer, getting into acting, it was the most amazing thing to like visualize, because I am a very I visualize almost everything I read. So being able to like visualize like all these things she's done and what's happened in her life was such a fun ride. And oh my god, it actually had me crying at one point when she starts talking about I literally can't, I'm gonna cry when she starts talking about her and Ed, which is the actor who played, why am I getting so emotional? Holy crap. The actor who played Richard Gilmore in Gilmore Girls, he, if you do not know, has passed. He passed quite a few years ago, and her talking about her relationship with him, because they were very close friends. They became very close working on Gilmore Girls, and oh my god, I'm literally getting emotional, because this is something that I feel like is pretty well known, but his wife, when he was in the hospital and he was about to die, invited her to come to the hospital to say goodbye to him, and her talking about that, I literally started sobbing. Like, genuinely, why am I crying right now? Holy crap. Anyways, so I just absolutely loved listening to this. I also do give every memoir I listen to 5 stars, no matter what it is, because at the end of the day, I'm listening to someone's life story, and who am I to say that's anything less than a 5 stars? So that one was a 5 stars. And then after that, I ended up reading The Boyfriend by Frieda McFadden. This is the second Frieda McFadden book I have ever read. I read The Housemaid quite a while ago, like probably over a year ago, at the point of me reading this, even longer ago now. And that book was super captivating, don't get me wrong. It really kept my attention and I enjoyed my time reading it. However, there was no plot twist to me, and that was one thing that had me really disappointed, because I went into that book with so many people saying that the plot twist in that book was like crazy and you'll never see it coming, and then I saw everything coming and nothing surprised me. So I was definitely hesitant going into this one. I really thought that I knew where this was going, that I knew what was happening, that I knew who the bad guy was, but I was wrong. The plot twist actually did get me in this one, and that definitely made me like this book more than The Housemaid, for the fact that it actually got me. I did not see it coming. I was very pleasantly surprised, and I had a really fun time reading this. I think this was a fun read. I actually am pretty sure this is like pretty mixed reviews from what I remember seeing when it came out, but I really enjoyed my time reading this and I would recommend it. I did end up giving this only a 3-star, but I'm also not a huge mystery thriller person, so that's pretty average for me for mystery thrillers. That's pretty much the norm. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this and it was fun. And then after The Boyfriend, I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams, and I had so much fun reading this book. I love a good small town romance, and this one follows a famous singer and a small town baker, and oh my god, it literally was so wholesome. Like, just the vibes of this whole book was so wholesome, so sweet, so fun. I loved the whole plot line of this book. I loved the dynamic between our two characters. I really felt like there was such fun tension and banter between the two of them, and then seeing them fall in love was just so sweet. But I will say, if there's something that I'm gonna eat up in a book, is that if one of the characters is famous. Something about it just really does it for me. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this. I had been texting bestie Faith when I read this because she really enjoyed this, and she said this was honestly giving Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce if Travis Kelce was a small town baker, and you better believe that's basically what I was envisioning the whole time I was reading this book. It was so fun. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. Nothing too crazy, but it was such a fun palate cleanser type of romance. It's also fairly short. It's just over 300 pages, sitting at 305 pages, so it is such a quick read, and it is so fun and so enjoyable. Highly recommend. After that, I ended up reading 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited. If you don't know, that is the novella in the Serpent and Wings of Night series, and you read that after the first book. And I read the first book like literally over a year ago, and I finally ended up reading the novella. I've heard such amazing things about this novella. Like, I'm pretty sure almost every review I had ever seen about this novella was a 5-star, so I had definitely high expectations. It was not a 5-star read for me, but I did really enjoy my time with this. Obviously, since it's a novella, it's a bit shorter, so it was a pretty quick, easy read, and I thought the premise of this was really fun. Really, my main like nitpicky feeling about this book was that I actually just wished that it was an entire book and not just a novella, because it just felt too fast-paced. Obviously, I know it's a novella, so it should be fast-paced, but I was enjoying the plot and the story we were going on and our two main characters so much that I was just longing for it to be slower paced, a bit more of a slower burn, and just be dragged out into a whole book so that we could have got more details and more time with them. And that feels like such a silly thing to be like your nitpickiness about a book, but that is what I felt like. I felt like I just couldn't get fully invested into this novella because it was going way too fast for me. Does that make sense? So I did really enjoy it. I did only give it 3 stars because I just had a hard time connecting because it was too fast paced for me. And guys, I know, again, it's a novella. I get it, but that's still how I felt. So we're just gonna leave it at that. That is what I read. And then after reading that, I actually read The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. I started the Throne of Glass series, and I did start with The Assassin's Blade. I know that is very controversial. Some people say read it first, some people say read it third, some people say read it fourth. I'm gonna say I am very happy that I read it first. Now, I know, don't come for me in the comments saying Sarah J. Maas has said herself that she recommends you read it in publication order. I don't care. I actually don't care. I am so glad I read this first, and I think for me personally, this series would hit way less hard and way less emotionally if I didn't go into Throne of Glass, which I read next, we'll get into that in a minute, without having all this information, because there's so much that happens in Throne of Glass, or even just simple sentences of things that our main character Selena says that you don't know the history and the background behind when she says it. And I feel like me personally, those things would not have hit hard at all for me if I would have read this third, because if I would personally, if I would have read this third, I am not going to be reading this third or fourth and reading about all these events and then think, oh yeah, in Throne of Glass, Selena said this, or this situation happened, that makes sense, sobs. That's not how that would have went for me, because if there's one thing about me, I need to know in the moment or have a replay with newfound information for it to fully hit me to the extent that I feel like those things hit me because I had this information. And I don't even know if any of what I just said made sense, so if not, I'm sorry. But if it did make sense, we're gonna continue anyways. So I am very glad I read this first. I would recommend to read it first, but I think it's definitely personal preference and what type of reader you are and what you think is going to have the most emotional impact on you as a reader and how you perceive things. Me reading this first was definitely the best decision for me, and I'm so glad I did. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy my time with it. It is like 5 novellas all in one, so I feel like it's hard to get attached to the story when we're constantly jumping between timelines and plot points, but I thought it was really fun. I thought this was a really fun way to jump into the series, and overall I did really enjoy it and I would recommend. Now obviously I said that I ended up then reading Throne of Glass after finishing Assassin's Blade, and I also did really enjoy this. Again, like I was saying before, glad I read that first. Made this book a whole lot more emotional for me. Just knowing the background behind, again, certain sentences and whatever really helped me to feel more emotionally connected to our main character Selena and what she's going through. And I did actually do a bit of annotating in this book. If you just kind of like flip through, I did annotate it a bit. I don't even know if you can see that I annotated it some, but there was definitely some sentences in this that I just really loved the writing of. I do really love Sarah J Maas as an author. I love the ACOTAR series so much. So I'm very excited to see if I love this series as much or more than the ACOTAR series, because so far I have only read these two. I do need to continue the series, and I plan to continue this quite a bit in the month of June. But yeah, I feel like we got some glimpses into what I think is the romance in this, but I also feel like, is there a love triangle in this? Because I was kind of getting those vibes while reading it. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with this book. I do feel like this felt pretty slow, but I was telling my sister, because we are reading this all together, my sister and my sister-in-law in the little book club we have of just us three, we are reading the whole series together. And so I was kind of talking to them, and Tamiko really agreed with me that this felt like the first ACOTAR book, in the sense that it really feels like the first book in a series. You're really setting up a lot, learning about characters, setting up the whole plot point of this book. You're setting up the world, and it really did feel like that. So I did end up giving this a 4 stars. So far we have no 5 stars of this series, and it doesn't feel, currently, it's not a series that I'm obsessed with. But obviously I've only read the first 2 books, and that could change even with just the next one. So that's my thoughts and feelings on that so far. Stay tuned to see more thoughts of this series as I continue to read it, but that is all I have for you right now. And the next book I ended up reading was actually The Right Move by Liz Tomforde, which is the second book in the Windy City series. I know this is one of the books in the series that a lot of people actually like really love, and I know a lot of people actually don't like Mile High. I personally loved Mile High, and this one I didn't love as much, surprisingly so. And I'm sitting here trying to think of like what I want to tell you guys about how I felt about this book, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't remember really anything that happened in this book. Now I will say I did read this in February, so that was quite a few months ago, but yeah, I actually really do not remember anything that happens in this book. I know he was a basketball player. I know that she was like the best friend of the main character in the first book, and the guy is that character's sister, but there's not much of this I remember, other than I remember there being a toxic ex-boyfriend that we had to deal with, and that was kind of cool and fun to see how he kind of dealt with that. Were they fake dating? Oh, they were fake dating. See, that's crazy, because fake dating is one of my favorite romance tropes. So the fact that this one didn't hit for me is pretty atypical. That's not normal for me. Anyways, so I don't really remember much. I do remember that I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I do enjoy Liz Tomforde's writing so far in these first 2 books I've read by her, and I'm very excited to continue the Windy City series and just keep reading the rest of them. I know the last one in the series, Rewind It Back, just came out like last month, so I am very excited to continue it, but I don't have much to say about this one because I just honestly don't remember really anything that happened. But I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars, so that's the rating. And then I read a book that I found on Kindle Unlimited that was on the shorter side, and the name of this book genuinely makes me cringe, so I'm really sorry that I'm gonna have to say this out loud, but it's called My Pucked Up Single Dad by Lily Doral. Listen, I just do not like the title of this. I think it is such a cringy title, but I actually enjoyed my time reading it. I do love, personally, a hockey romance, and I also am somebody that loves a single parent trope. It's gonna do it for me every single time, okay? Because there is something about reading a single parent trope where not only are we seeing the love interest fall in love with the main character who is the single parent, and seeing them finally get the love that they deserve, whether they are from a toxic relationship or whether they're from a relationship where they lost their significant other, seeing them find someone who's gonna love them and treat them the way that they should, but also watch that same person fall so in love with their child or children and just completely treat them like they are their own is the sweetest thing to me, and I love it. It's gonna hit every time for me, so I did really enjoy my time with this. Again, it was on the shorter side. It was a quick read, definitely more of a palate cleanser, but I thought it was really fun. Gave it 3 stars, and I'd recommend it for a quick read. And then I listened to The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins on Audible, and I really enjoyed listening to this. I think this is a nonfiction book that I could see myself re-listening to later down the line. I feel like this is a mindset and a thought process that can be very, very helpful for most of us, because a lot of us care a little too much about what other people think about us and let other people's thoughts and decisions rule our thoughts and decisions too much. So I really enjoyed my time with this. I completely understand the hype behind this theory and behind just living your life by letting them. So yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. I thought it was a very good educational time and I gave it 4 stars. And then another Kindle Unlimited book, I read The Bribe by Devney. So I started the Calamity Montana series. And if you know me, you know The Edens is my all-time favorite romance series that I have currently read to date. So I was very excited to start another series by her. And I really enjoyed my time with this book. I really enjoyed the plot point that our main male character is like a sheriff in this town, but our main female character is a really famous country singer who is literally escaping where she lives because of a stalker and is trying to hide away, and she kind of just falls in love with this cop. And but the way they fall in love and the way they meet is so cute, and the way that they meet, guys, it's really giving Invisible String. Oh, so cute. Really enjoyed this book. I love a small town romance. I don't know how many times I can say that. And I love the town of Calamity. I think it is so fun and quirky and just so wholesome, and I really enjoyed just the whole backdrop of this book and of this series so far. So yeah, I really enjoyed my time with this one. I did only give it a 4-star. It just didn't give me those 5-star feelings, but I really enjoyed my time and I was very excited at this point to continue the series, which I did continue the series later in this video. We'll talk about that. I feel like some of these books I'm either talking way too extensively about, and then some of them I'm barely talking about at all. But anyways, moving on, the next book I read is the only other physical copy that I have read so far this year, and that is Funny Story by Emily Henry. Now, if you watched my reading vlog from my book besties trip, which was swapping books with the other booktubers, then you already know how I feel about this. So I want to start by saying, preface, that when I say what I'm about to say, I am not counting memoirs and rereads, okay? This is the first and only 5-star read I have had of 2025. Now again, I do not count rereads in that, because if I reread a book that was previously a 5-star, the chances of it being a 5-star again are so high that I'm not going to count that towards my new 5-star reads. And again, like I said earlier, I give every memoir I listen to 5 stars, so that also doesn't count. So far this year, the only 5-star read I have had is this book. This is the first book I've ever read by Emily Henry, and if you want to know, if you want to see my reactions to reading this book and you haven't, I need to stop touching my hair. I'm sorry. It's just bothering me because it keeps getting in my face. I'm sorry. Please ignore. Go watch that reading vlog if you haven't already. I got so much of my reactions on video. I cried so hard to the end of this book. Genuinely, just go watch that reading vlog so you can see it. If you haven't read this book, oh my dear lord, this is your sign to pick it up, because why was this so good? Miles and Daphne have such a special place in my heart. I loved this story to such an extent. It was so good. First of all, not only did I just love learning more about them individually and just kind of getting the backstory between how they met, which how they met is a funny story. Oh my god, the last sentence of this book genuinely wrecked me. Anyways, I went into this book completely blind, had no idea what was going on here, and wow, that was such a good way to go into this book, let me tell you. I annotated this book so heavily. There is so much underlined in this. There is so many sentences that I just absolutely love. There are so many aspects of this book that were incredible that I either resonated with or just absolutely loved reading. All of the characters in this book just had something to offer. It wasn't like they were just there to fill up space. They were there genuinely because they had something to offer you and the story, and God, the writing of this is so humorous in such a fun, in such a realistic feeling way, and watching them go from whatever you want to call what they were before to roommates to friends to lovers was so beautiful. I can't get over it. I feel like I don't even fully know how to express my feelings about this book, because when I love a book to the extent that I love this and Kingdom of the Wicked, my brain becomes becomes mush when I try to talk about them, and I feel like I just keep repeating the same things because I'm like, I don't know what to say. I just love it so much. Read it. So seriously, if you haven't seen that reading vlog, go watch it because I talk so extensively into so many different aspects about this book, but I can't recommend this enough. The literal only thing that could have made this book better is it being dual POV. That is the only thing that would have made it better. This book was utter perfection. Utter perfection, and I cannot recommend it more. Obviously, like I said, first 5-star read of the year, my only 5-star read of the year so far, and I just loved it so much, and it was so good, and I can't recommend it enough. So please read it if you haven't already. Miles and Daphne, give them a chance to just wrap you in a warm hug. Okay. And that actually brings us to the last book that I have read so far this year, and that is The Bluff by Devney Perry, which is the second book in the Calamity Montana series. This book, like The Bribe, was so fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time with these characters and in this story. This book is a marriage of convenience, so kind of like a fake dating, fake marriage type romance, which again, you guys know I love, so I loved that aspect of it, but it's also a single parent trope. Yeah! And again, you know I love it. You know I love it. So these were two of my favorite tropes kind of wrapped into one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really also just enjoyed our two main characters. I think Hux, our main male character, he is so misunderstood. People just think he's such a bad person, and he's genuinely not. He is such a sweet, amazing man. And then we have our main female character who is going through so much in her personal life and just feels so underappreciated and like undervalued by literally like everyone, and just feels like she is never good enough and she's never going to have any success in like any area of her life. And so watching them kind of like entering this marriage of convenience for both of their sakes, but mostly his anyways, and just seeing the ride that they go on and the emotional like turmoil that they both go through. And I mean, I will say there's like a whole, well, I guess I feel like that kind of makes sense for this book. Anyways, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to spoil anything, but there was a point in this book where I was like a little annoyed, and I was like, okay, come on, like we don't really need to be doing this. But other than that, I like really enjoyed my time with this. Again, not a 5-star read, didn't give me 5-star feelings, but I enjoyed my time, and I ended up also giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I feel like there's definitely potential for later books in this series to be a 5-star read. I just, so far, those two haven't been, but again, the Edens. The Edens. Anyways, so yeah, those are the 13 books that I have so far read this year. I feel like I just yapped your ears off so much. I feel like I don't even remember what I just said. When I sit down to film sit-down videos like this, I genuinely feel like I black out, and then I finish filming and I'm like, what did I even say that whole entire time I was talking? Because I don't even know. So hopefully these reviews actually made sense and came out coherent enough for you to understand what I'm saying. One 5-star read of the year so far, and that is why my year is going so slow and why I've been slumping almost the whole year. So anyways, it was nice to just sit down and chat with you guys rather than doing like a vlog, like a reading vlog or any type of vlog. It was kind of just nice to sit down. I definitely do miss doing sit down videos, so I'm excited to start incorporating those back into my channel and just sit down and have some chit chat time with you guys and just basically talk like we're on FaceTime, because I do really miss that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you are not already, so you don't miss the next one. You guys are getting a sneak peek in this video as to my brand new home library office area. I'm so excited for you guys to see the process of me putting this room together, and that is actually going to be the next video after this one, so definitely subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss that when I upload that. But yeah, with that being said, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Peace. Whoa. Hey guys, I just need to start talking. I hate when my bracelet gets caught on my arm hairs. That hurt. That hurts way more than I feel like it should. Brick have to be. Whoa. 12 books. Nope, 13. Take 3. Anyways, oh my god, I'm so tired, guys. How am I gonna do this? What is the word I'm looking for? Wait, that's not adding up properly. Yep, that is the correct thing to say. Hello? Whoa. Oh, what? It's envision. Whoa. Whoa. What is, Whoa. What is going on? What was I just saying?